again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alumni Chats, a weekly podcast featuring alumni from the Department of Broadcasting and Journalism here at Western Illinois University. My name is Buzz Hoon. I'm the interim dean of the college. I'm also the host of the podcast. Today, I'm talking with a dear friend, graduate from 1987, Dale Spoeth. Dale, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Buzz. How are you?
Good. And I say that because unlike many of the other episodes where I've talked with many of my former students or students that were from classes maybe even before me, you are one of the few very contemporary classmates. I'm sure we probably had even a class together, didn't we?
Yep, we did. Actually, I recall even an art history class that you and I shared. That was not either one of our favorite classes. I'll just say that. But I do definitely know we had that class together for sure, and probably a few others in the broadcast and journalism classes. But I definitely remember that because that was probably the worst grade I ever got in a class in my life.
And just to let everyone know, back in the day when we were in school, we were in the Department of Communication. And I think you were one of the few first people that actually graduated with a mass comm degree.
That is correct. It's mass communications, electronic media, and a minor in journalism.
Okay. So let's tell everybody where you are before we start to get into a little bit about how you got to WIU, Dale. Where are you at? What's going on in your life? Give everybody a life update.
Okay. Well, I am at my house in Huntley, far northwest suburbs, about as far away as that you can call a suburb. This used to be a small farm community of about 1,500, 2,000 people, but during the real estate boom in the early 90s, a bunch of builders bought farmland and started putting up houses. And we bought our first house in the first new subdivision in town. And then the same builder built a second subdivision 4 or 5 years later. So we sold that first house and bought a bigger model in the new subdivision. And with COVID, I've been working from home for the last 20 plus months or whatever. I sell advertising for a company called Effectv, which is actually the advertising arm of Comcast. So we are Effectv, a Comcast company. I sell broadcast cable advertising across multiple screens. Been doing it coming up here on December 14th. It will be 34 years without really ever changing companies. I mean,
amazing.
Comcast is the 5th company I've worked for over those 34 years. And I've been doing right out of school. I worked for the Yellow Pages for a while. For about a year, didn't really care for that very much. A friend of mine was at the cable company climbing poles and said, "Hey, we're starting this ad sales thing up, Dale. I think you would be a good fit, but it hasn't started. I know the person that's going to be hiring, but we need some help." So that's how I actually started in the business. I climbed poles for like 11 months installing cable, got a lot of technical background, and was there on the ground floor when things, started selling ads on cable television.
The ground pole.
Yep.
So Dale, when first of all, we shouldn't wait 35 years to get back together.
That's for sure.
But let's go all the way back and talk about growing up, because as you mentioned, you are in the Chicago area, but you, I think you said you grew up, you were for a period of time lived in Elk Grove. And then as I knew it, when our friendship started, you went to high school in Carpentersville. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, I was born in Milwaukee. My parents moved down to the Chicago area to Elk Grove when I was in kindergarten. And then it's probably 6th grade or so. They decided to move a little further west out to Carpentersville. So I went to middle school and high school in Carpentersville at what was Irving Crown High School. I was actually the last graduating class of Irving Crown High School in 1983. the year after that, they merged with Dundee High School and became what is now Dundee Crown High School in Carpentersville. And we lived there. I lived there when I, decided to go to WIU. Several of my teachers actually had went to Western. So that was kind of how I got put on the path to go to Western Illinois, as several of my teachers had recommended that I go there. So that was one of 4 places that I went and looked at. I went down to Southern, looked at Western, looked at Bradley, but that was a little expensive for, suburban kid with working class parents. So it was WIU, and had a great time there. Met beautiful people like yourself, and kind of how I got to Western.
Yeah, well, let's talk about high school, because if I remember correctly, you were a pretty good baseball player. Is that right? Did you play baseball in high school?
I played baseball and golf in high school.
Okay.
I played basketball freshman and sophomore year, as well as golf and baseball. 3 years of varsity golf, sophomore, junior, and senior year, and 2 years of varsity baseball, junior and senior year. Yeah, I played 2 sports, and I was all conference in golf and probably pretty good baseball player. I'm not all conference, but I was on the Wall of Fame at Irving Crown before it became Dundee Crown, and now it's long gone because it's now all Dundee Crown people, because I didn't actually go to Dundee Crowns.
No, that's quite an honor. I do remember you being a very good athlete. And so I guess my question for you, Dale, is, do you think that growing up, being involved in, especially in high school and sports, that helped, motivate you as a student, try to prepare you for the idea that college was a possibility?
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely something that I believe in, and something, I instilled in my kids. I have 3 kids, and they're all in their early 20s now, 24, 26, and 28, I guess mid-20s. But all 3 of them played high school sports, and I encourage them to do that and just to get involved. And if they weren't into sports, to get involved into something else. My daughter played one sport. She played volleyball, but she was involved in other things as well. That prepared her to go to college. And, I was actually the first person in my family to go to the college route. So that was something I really wanted to instill in my kids, and that's kind of the path they followed. All 3 played high school sports, are very involved, and kind of helped motivate them as it motivated me to want to excel at school.
Was it at all hard sell for your mom and dad to think that they were going to have you go to college?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, they were very involved in the process, and they knew that I kind of wanted to get into radio or TV in some sort, and that was really the only way I wanted to do. My dad was in the painting and decorating industry for a while, had his own business, and then went to work for Rust-Oleum in their paint factory. And he wanted a little bit more for me than doing that. So, they were very supportive in, my choice to try and choose a career in broadcast and media.
So what drew you to that? And was it the angle on sports, Dale? Because that's what, I mean, obviously you and I were very similar in that aspect. My dream was to report on sports for a newspaper.
No, absolutely. I mean, I wanted to be Chris Berman before there was Chris Berman, and so that's actually kind of what drew me that direction. And I don't know if you recall this or not, but my senior year, my last year at Western, that last semester, I actually did an internship at WEEK, the NBC station in Peoria, in the sports department. So that was kind of the direction I wanted to go. And then my wife and I got engaged over Christmas break, our senior year of college, and set a wedding date for the next April, not right after graduation. But I decided that I didn't really want to work in a small market right away. And I wasn't going to be on NBC or calling Monday Night Football games in place of Al Michaels. So I kind of decided to go the route on the advertising sales side, because walking around the parking lot of, a smaller TV station, all the nice cars weren't the guys on the air. They were the guys, selling the ads. So that's kind of what shifted my direction.
Nice. Dale, when you and I met, just to let everyone know, we were roommates in of sort, because we all lived on Wetzel 7.
Yep.
The dorm that no longer exists.
I've heard that.
They took it down. So what do you remember of living on the dorm, and how did that sort of shape you into who you were in terms of learning to live with a wide variety of personalities?
I think that actually kind of prepared me for a sales career, really, to be honest with you, just because, you and Mike lived right next door to me and Big Al, and, we leave our doors cracked open, walk in and out, and, we'd walk down the hall, and there's all different kinds of personalities on our floor, if I recall. I mean, we had everything from the muscle-bound, steroid-using big guys to, skinny little guys like you and me that played sports or what have you, and open showers and all sorts of things. So it's a lot different now after going and seeing what my youngest son went through, and he went, their dorms at Alabama were nothing like our dorms. Their dorms are 4-bedroom apartments, everybody with their own bathroom. It's amazing. I'm like, you would not believe the difference. So
yeah, there's certainly something about learning to live with people that sometimes are not exactly like what you've been growing up with, even in your high school or in your community. All of that was that sort of diversity, that forced diversity, was such a good experience in terms of personal growth, I think, for a lot of people.
Definitely, I agree with that 100%. I mean, and even in my career here, having to deal with, I deal with everybody from little mom and pop restaurant owners to, presidents of large corporations. And, I have to be adaptable. Some places I need to walk in dressed like you are right now with a suit and tie. Other people, other clients, if I don't walk in jeans and a polo, they'd be like, what's up with you? Why are you wearing a suit? Why are you wearing a tie? Or whatever. So I think those experiences at Western, and as diverse of a place that it is, it was a great place to prepare me for the career I chose.
What do you remember of the department at the time? I'm sure you had a production class. I remember producing videos. I remember working on some studio production. What do you remember in terms of, do you remember any of the faculty and other students?
Sharon Evans.
Yep.
She was a great lady. I remember, and actually, believe it or not, one of the bosses, one of the guys I reported to for a brief period of time, went to Western as well, and is very good friends with Sharon Evans. His name's Tim Hagee. I don't know if you've ever met Tim at all.
No.
He's a few years older than us, and he's out of the TV ad business. I think he married a rocket scientist, and who's a literal rocket scientist, and lives in North Barrington and on a private country club or whatever. But going back to Western, I mean, we had some shared experiences, him and I did, with folks like Sharon Evans. I remember my wife Holly, who went to Western as well. Her and I had a class with Professor Lee together.
Yeah.
And so then let's see, who was our advertising? I don't remember her name. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of great staff there, and I remember, as far as production, producing some music videos. I probably still have it on a 3/4 inch tape in my basement. I mean,
I still have mine.
I I know I have a VHS cut of it, and there's probably the original 3/4 inch cut. I did a video, I edited a highlight video of Western sports to Dire Straits' Walk of Life. And I remember, having stuff that we had shot at the football game and edited all that kind of stuff together, and kind of music video 101 before MTV.
It was amazing. And what's funny, I don't know if you remember, our good friend Mike Halsney, who was my roommate over 3 years, I think, and whenever I needed an assistant, I would ask Mike, and Mike would always a volunteer, or he would sign up without too much complaint.
Right.
And so I would have him in a music video, or I would have him reading news while I was going to read sports and weather, things like that. And I still have those tapes.
Yeah, I do too, and I think my wife does too. They're definitely in a box in the basement. So one of these times, maybe over Christmas break, we'll break them out and show the kids, and they'll have a good laugh.
So let's talk about Holly. How did you guys meet? I don't think I know this story.
Actually, so it was our freshman year when Al and I, or actually I think Al had moved into my room yet, because I was still rooming with Bobby J, we always called him.
Yeah.
And he wound up dropping out of school, and that's when Big Al moved in with me. But we were actually at a party down the hall on Wetzel 7 in Dan Borowski's room. And Holly lived on Wetzel 5. And I believe, she came up there, and I was kind of flirting with her, whatever. And she's like, stay away from me, And then I might have had a couple cocktails too many or something. And she tells this story all the time to our friends, like, this is how'd you meet? Oh, it was Dale the drunk guy. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But anyway.
But you grew on her.
Yeah. We were in a bunch of classes together. So then we started studying together and hanging out. And I broke up. We went home for Christmas break. I broke up with my girlfriend from home, and who had come to visit me at one point in time, and had met Holly. And this girl at home told me, she goes, "You're breaking up with me because you want to date that Holly girl, don't you?" I can tell. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. So then we were together, basically ever since. Like I said, we got engaged our Christmas break because her birthday's the day after Christmas. So we got engaged our senior year, as I was going off to do my internship at WEEK. I actually lived with her brother and sister-in-law and their 2 kids in a little town called Macedon, Illinois, kind of in between Peoria and Bloomington. So that last semester of my senior year, I lived with her brother and sister-in-law while I was doing my internship in Peoria. And then after we graduated, she moved, packed up her stuff. We got an apartment together, and the rest is history.
Nice. I figured it was something along the same way with me. You and I have to win them over.
And now they're stuck with us.
That's right. So Dale, as you said, you worked at WEEK in that internship, and that was not going to work out in terms of for whatever reason, and you got into you decide to move home. I'm sure at that point in time you're trying to figure out what's my future, because I worked in radio for a while, and after a while I said, this isn't what I want to do. Eventually you started, as you said, into working for this cable, but you working on the polls. When did you get involved in advertising? How did that happen?
So basically what happened is, my friend got me in climbing poles for a year, or it was actually about 11 months. And they started up an advertising division in the small cable company. It was called United Cable. And they were a small company in Carpentersville. and it reached about 30,000 homes just around that geographic area. We started with just a still frame classified channel. So I was, and they put me in charge of kind of running that channel, and I hired somebody to produce the ads, and we were selling basically to realtors and auto dealers, just kind of still frame photos of houses, still frame photos of cars,
Right.
15-second ads with a voiceover, and they would just scroll through. You know, we'd run an hour of real estate, hour of auto, hour of real estate, hour of auto, just kind of scrolling through. So that started, kind of got the ball rolling in the advertising world. And then as they purchased equipment and got things ready to go, we started selling 30-second commercials on 8 cable networks: ESPN, CNN, USA, TNT, MTV, Sports Channel, which is now NBC Sports Chicago, and I think maybe one or two others. So, but those were the main channels. And we would insert 30-second commercials for local businesses. You could only buy a package of X amount of ads per week. You know, maybe it was depending on their budget. It might be 100 ads a week. It might be 200. It might be 50. Again, depending on their budget. There was no fixed position, anything like that. And then as technology advanced to where we are today, you know, we sell on 60 different cable networks. We can sell fixed programming on high-profile sports like Monday Night Football on ESPN. You know, Bulls games on a local level. We now are, with mergers and acquisitions, the entire Chicago market is now owned by Comcast or Effectv, and the parts that aren't, we are the third-party ad sales force for those areas too. So now we have 60 different geographic zones. So if you want to advertise to just the 25,000 homes around Carpentersville and Crystal Lake, you can. If you want to advertise to 2.4 million households on our interconnect, do that as well. And then we target to, we have set-top box data, you know, where we have data to try and find specific audiences. So if, you know, and there's soon going to be technology where it's addressable. If you and I live next door to each other, but you're a Toyota intender and I'm a Chevy intender, you might get delivered a completely separate ad on Monday Night Football than I get. So, yeah, I mean, the technology is advanced. I mean, I'm sure you've seen it. You know, you're doing a podcast, you know, things are, it was broadcasting. Now everything's segmented and, you know, we have to find the audiences where they're watching video. So
that's right. A long time ago, they talked about this narrow casting, this idea that, you know, what you're doing is you're limiting the audience, but part of that is that's what we, you know, the idea that we can stay broad anymore is just not realistic because people are segmenting along the way and watching lots of different, because there's so many different things to watch.
And there's definitely, and so it's our job now. I mean, from selling kind of broadcast across 4, you know, 1 channel to 4 channels to 6 channels. Now I have to find that audience, you know, and they might be watching our, you know, our stats say the average person watches 18 different channels, plus what they watch on streaming, plus what they, you know, so we have to find those audiences. So if you're, you know, if you're a restaurant owner, I've got to find restaurant goers and where they're consuming video, whether it's on their phone, whether it's on an iPad, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on ESPN or whether it's on, you know, the food channel. You know, we just try and follow the eyeballs and deliver our advertisers' messages to those viewers.
Dale, how long did it take for you to feel comfortable in selling advertising? I mean, there had to be a period of transition, or was it a natural, you started hitting the road and doing really well, right? At what point did you feel like, you know what, I think I'm good at this?
I've been here 34 years, Buzz. I don't even know if I'm still good at it.
Well, you must be.
I've got, you know, I've lasted long enough where I must be pretty good at it.
You must be.
You know what? I think what it takes is being adaptable, because things, you know, like you said, going back to the diversity and being able to see things change. I mean, one of the companies we worked for over all the mergers and acquisitions was a company called Telecommunications Incorporated, TCI.
DCI.
And we used to joke around that TCI stood for things changed instantly. And 34 years later, even though I now work for Effectv Comcast, things change instantly. I mean, we've gone from soup to nuts with how this world has changed. I mean,
Yeah.
our world has changed even in the last 2 years immensely. You would have never told us that what was going on 2 years ago, that we would be making our budgets, doing everything virtually. I was always a walk into a store kind of guy, ask to talk to the owner, shake his hand, build that interpersonal relationship so they can trust me, because I'm not a salesperson in my mind. I'm a consultant. I'm an advisor. I'm not here to sell you ads on TV. I'm here to help grow your business. And if I can't do that, if you're going to tell me that you only have X amount of money, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, why don't you save that and use that to put that money on Facebook or wherever else you might decide to advertise, because that's not enough to do. I don't want you to buy from me and then say, oh, that advertising didn't work. I'm going to be honest with you. And I think that's probably what's made me most successful, is that I'm honest with my clients, and I try and do whatever I can to really help grow their business.
Well, that's because that's the kind of guy you are. No matter what job you are going to do, you have to be true to who you are. And so I guess I'm wondering, Dale, when the pandemic hits and you have to, you're working from home and things, how much interpersonal, how do you contact people? Do you do it over the phone? Are you doing it virtually?
It was a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically over the phone and virtually, again, and via email. I mean, a lot depending on, because everybody's reaction to the pandemic was different, So, and we do have ability to go see clients face to face now. I mean, Comcast had some pretty strict protocols in place, and, up the ladder chains of command to get approval for certain client meetings face to face. But I would say I haven't been back to the office. We're actually going to be able to go back voluntarily starting next week, but it's only on a voluntary basis. And I probably will go back 1 or 2 days a week just to see my teammates, see the other, my friends that I've been selling next to for, years, and just see their faces in person. And going to see clients. I mean, I've gone out to see a handful of clients, and gotten permission to go see them for reasons X, Y, or Z, and gotten the proper approval from our VP to go. And it's great to see them in face to face again, because it'll be even better when I can just walk into a client and shake their hand and talk to them about their business face to face and what challenges they have and how I can help solve those challenges. Because there's a lot of businesses out there that didn't make it in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And the ones that did, it's my job to help get them more customers.
Well, and Dale, that again reflects upon the person that you are, which is so awesome to hear. I mean, and one of the things that I think I know, but I want you to talk about is your family, because I know how important your family has been. How proud of them that you are, because I think you and Holly, I mean, we can talk about occupations and how something's changed and all this other stuff, but being a parent is still the best and most rewarding thing for anyone. Talk a little bit about your family.
Oh, geez, now you're gonna make me cry. You're right. That definitely is very important to me, and kind of the reason for my existence.
Yeah.
Uh, I've got 3 great kids. My wife and I have been married. It'll be 34 years in April. And, that's great kids. Um, they're all successful in what they're doing. And they, you know, I came from, couple of loving parents. My mom, fortunately, is still alive. She's out in Arizona now. So we don't get to see her as often, especially last. We got to go see her spring break, so that was great. We got to go out there and see her. But unfortunately, my father passed away before my daughter was born, so he never got to meet his grandchildren.
Oh.
But my daughter's a little bit like my dad. So yeah, it's family's always been important to me, as I know it is to you. So
Yeah. And, I know all the things that you have held so dearly and value have been passed along to them. And I'm sure at some point in time that they have told you about the importance that you and Holly have meant to them. And I'm just, so a lot of times when I talk with our alums, we talk a lot about their development professionally, which I'm very happy for you. I know that somebody doing sales for this long period of time, you are successful. There's no doubt about, but I also just tip my hat to you because of your family as well. I think that's really awesome. So Dale, one of the last things that we always like to end on is a connection to for our current students, because some of them will get into sales. They don't know it yet. Some of them will be because that's an important part of this business. It pays the bills, to be honest, and it's really essential part of the media business. So what kind of advice do you have for anyone that might be like you and me, a mass comm type of student that is interested but not sure where they're going to be headed?
And you kind of said it a little bit earlier. I mean, stay true to yourself. I mean, make sure you find that balance between, your work life, or in case of your school life. I mean, when you're in school, make sure you're giving 100%. But make sure that you're making an investment when you're going to college. I mean, whether you're there on scholarship, your parents are writing a check, or you're getting student loans. I mean, it's an investment in your future. So you got to think of it as, you want to get return on that investment. So, and you can't get return on investment unless you give 100%. I mean, still have fun. I mean, we had a lot of fun.
And we did.
I still have fun, I mean, and work hard, play hard. I mean, that's kind of been my motto, for 56 years now. So, so definitely. And then, be true to yourself, be honest, be respectful of people. I mean, never burn a bridge. I think that's important. I mean, just, you don't know when you're going to cross paths with somebody again. So just be compassionate with people. Everybody has a different situation. Learn to understand that, and be true to yourself and work hard.
Some good advice there, Dale. And as I said, I'm so happy to reconnect with you and talk with you and share some old memories and some laughs along the way.
Well, let's hope that one of these days the Bears will be good again. I remember that Super Bowl party we had when we lived next door to each other on Pierce Street, and the Bears were in the Super Bowl. I think that's probably the last time they were good. But that was a fun time, and then hopefully the Bears will get back to that sometime soon.
I hope so. Dale Spoeth, good talking with you. Thanks for being on the podcast. Give my best to Holly and all the family.
You do the same to Pam too, Buzz.
Thank you.
Good to be with you.
And thanks for everyone for watching our weekly podcast. Remember, if you are interested in being on the podcast or want to recommend someone, just send me an email. We want to hear from you. We also want you to continue to watch and listen to the podcast, and really appreciate everyone's support. So until next week, stay safe, take care, and God bless.